Hello everypony, Prince Algorn of Aquilonia here, and I'm apologizing for being so far behind. I'm not sure I'll be able to catch up 100% before the season finale, and here's part of the reason why. This week has been a crazy week in the Brony fandom. Some of it involves the character Stellar Eclipse, who debuted in last week's episode, and I plan to do a whole separate video on to go along with my review on that episode. But a lot of it comes out of BabsCon. First, there's the story about Final Draft getting kicked out. This story has remained a largely he said, she said kind of thing, with Final Draft claiming he was removed because of pony politics, whatever that is, while the convention organizers have said that he basically broke all the press rules and they had no choice but to kick him out. The other, much more serious event is a rather complex story that I will try to break down like this. Someone volunteering at the SAC anime booth got on Tumblr Sunday and alleged that while she was working, an 11-year-old girl came up to the booth saying she was being followed by an older man who had tried to lure her to his room and needed a place to hide for a while. They let the girl hide, but at her request never reported the incident. And then they proceeded to use the incident as an excuse to accuse all bronies of being fedora-wearing, neck-bearded pedophiles. The Tumblr anti-bronies and social justice warriors were all over this shit like they finally had some proof that we're all disgusting scum. Something about it didn't ring true for a number of bronies though, and some, like Equestria Phaley and Ponies for Parents, started really looking into things. First of all, there was no Rule 34 art or any body pillows being sold in the vendor hall as the original poster had claimed, and second of all, it is illegal in California to not report a crime in progress. The original poster took down the post and turned their blog into a Nick Cage blog, but the original post has been reblogged so many times that it's readily available on Tumblr if you look for it. Anyways, SAC Anime made a response saying they did hear about an incident with similar details, but that the failure to report was clearly in violation of the con guidelines, and the original poster was a volunteer and not an actual employee, so don't hold it against them. BabsCon responded, before making their public statement, by basically banning SAC Anime from the con for life. Meanwhile, con staffers and other vendors are denying the incident took place, or at least they didn't know about it if it happened. Needless to say, not only have bronies been offended that this was used to smear us as a whole, but also horrified that instead of reporting it, someone would go on Tumblr and try to use it to score points. While the anti-bronies are saying we're all evil people because we think the original poster should have disregarded the girl's wishes, and we should be focused on there being a predator in our ranks and blah blah blah, and that we're being dicks for questioning why her parents let her walk a convention unsupervised, blah blah blah, and that something is wrong with BabsCon deciding in response to this to ban SAC Anime for life, blah blah blah. To which I say, this is an 11-year-old girl. She doesn't have a say in the matter. Shouldn't common sense and basic human decency state that if someone comes to you claiming an attempted abduction and sexual assault, that you report that 1000% of the times, no questions asked, regardless of their age, but especially if they're a child? We're trying to find out if the police can use security footage or get in contact with the girl to try to catch this guy, and you're accusing us of being in the wrong? What the fuck are you doing about it, besides sitting behind a computer and bitching on the internet? This is all assuming that the incident actually occurred. So far, it's just a word of this one poster who conveniently disappeared when people started talking about the fact that the story sounded fishy, and that it's a crime in California to not report a crime, and the other staffers at the SAC Anime booth. None of the other vendors, con security, or the organizers heard about anything or noticed anything. All this drama, plus the previous drama about Michael Morones and the other child that was told by his school that he couldn't wear his Rainbow Dash backpack anymore because it was a trigger for bullies, has got me thinking about something. The analyst community seems to stay rather silent on these issues. The CBD has gotten into some social commentary before, and ANY tackles some controversial topics in its question videos, and has a separate channel devoted solely to dealing with controversial social issues, and occasionally someone will discuss real-world applications for the themes in the show. Nightmare Rider does this, and it's also the idea behind Brownie Buck's Moral of the Story vids. But when it comes to actual incidents in the community like this, people seem to stay quiet. For instance, in the above story, only myself, Nightmare Rider, and Puzzle Brony have made commentary on it through our Tumblrs, and as far as I can tell, I'm the only one that's made a public statement about the Michael Morones case. So this raises a question. What exactly is the responsibility of the critic? I don't think there is a set answer. This is probably all subjective and will change depending on which analyst you ask. For some, it may be that our only responsibility is to inform others on the quality of the episodes and on discovering what mechanisms in play makes them work and which ones make them bomb. For others, it might be making specific commentary on how certain episodes or themes can enrich our lives. I, though, tend to think we owe a little something more beyond just looking at things on individual episode bases. There's a long history of critics having influence on their culture. Aristotle, Alexander Pope, Dr. Samuel Johnson, Edgar Allan Poe, T.S. Eliot, Tolkien, Clement Greenberg, Jacques Derrida, Joyce Carol Oates, Leonard Moulton, Roger Ebert. All of them had a massive influence on not just their own communities, but on the wider society as a whole. These were critics who thought criticism could actually mean something. Two of my favorite critics, Mr. Enter and Linkara, both also seem to believe that critics have a certain responsibility to their audience. Linkara created Atop the Fourth Wall, and Mr. Enter created his animated atrocities in the belief that if you can show people what pieces of media do wrong, they will then know what to do right. I hate to put words in their mouths, and this is all just my personal impression, but what I get from them is that the unspoken second half of that is that if people know what to do right, they will make media that's not only more entertaining, but also more meaningful and enriching. The thing about that first list of critics, though, is that they had to limit their commentary to the actual works they were reviewing, because they were speaking to wide general audiences. The Bronalysis community, though, we cater to a specific fandom. That also means that we're more active in that fandom. We see what goes on in that fandom. Look, we need to remember something. Art is a form of social commentary. What we do is make commentary about social commentary. Why do we need to limit ourselves to just that? Why can't we make some social commentary of our own? I think we owe it to our viewers to call out anti-brony nonsense when we see it. I think we also owe it to them to shout down dumbassery in the fandom itself from the mountaintops. We are the stewards of bronydom, and so far, we've been sort of failing in that role. At the very least, we can teach our viewers the tools to make their own critical decisions when things like this come up. We can teach them how to break the situation down and evaluate it, but it can't just be me doing it alone. I'm not the right guy for this task. Not by myself, at least. I lack the ability to create objective distance. I'm too emotional. I get too angry over the smallest things. You all know that. I'm not built by myself for this task. This is why I'm calling out to all the real analysts out there, to the ANYs and Biters and Tommies and Voices of Reason and Dr. Wolves and Digis, to do your part as well. Please,